said in Jamaica, or maybe, I don't know where it was, all around the world. Tati said, I've been a flexitarian, and now I'm going to just choose to be a vegetarian. Right, I got that. It's like, today I don't eat meat, today I eat meat, That's like Lakeisha Michelle. She goes all over the board. Okay, can we say woo for this morning? Woo! Right, that was intense. Only to top yesterday's intensity, right? Only to top last night's intensity, right? So this afternoon is going to be right on point as well. Super excited. We have some amazing people in. We have about 9 different countries represented in this room. Yeah, about 9 different countries represented in this room. And when we're speaking right at Atlanta and we say we only have 6 spots open and we get like 9 people or 12 people wanting to come in and we say no. And they say, why? Are you full? No, we're not full. But only 9 people from this origin of the world can come. Because otherwise the room will look one way. And so we're really committed to, even though we might have 9 spots open at GLP altogether, we may only open up 4 someplace. Just so that we can get the variety. And earlier, Regan said, I really love seeing the diversity in the room. I was like, that's because we're really intentional about going all over the world and picking up global leaders. So I'm super excited. I want to welcome to the room my good friend Dana Johnson in the back. Dana and I go back 14 years.
Yay, Dana!
Dana has been for years my safe space of refuge, my place I go and I kick off my shoes and I like cry about the world and he tells me, get over it. And so just a dear, dear, dear friend. We started as, I coached him and he actually did every single thing that I asked of him and I've watched his life transform. He's in the business of protecting all the things that you work very hard for in terms of your assets. And so he's a brilliant, brilliant man and I always try to get him down to add his energy, his blessing to the room and to pour into him as well, because one of the things I got very clear on is I didn't want to teach the world and not touch my friends. And so thank you for doing the check and showing up. I love you, brother. This woman that I'm about to invite up is like just a powerhouse. I mean, I think about her and I get excited. When I first met her, Costa Rica, I'm just like making up with her. Right, we were somewhere around the world. She was very clear that she was ready to take herself to the next level. I love brilliant people who recognize there's more room to grow. Regan runs a very successful training and development company. And she trains and teaches game changers, artists, entrepreneurs, leaders, creators, how to not only take their talent and their connection to the next level, but how to build a sustainable business. Her company is location free. She has time freedom. She is the 3rd person in this room who is officially living all over the world. We have 2 other sisters who do the same thing. Watching her grow has been phenomenal. She engaged me, and she'll tell you more about it. You tell them just look. I don't want to tell too much, but she engaged me to do a VIP day with her. Watching her brilliance in the VIP day, I was wild. You know how you sit in front of someone who's absolutely magnificently brilliant, but at the same time a consummate student. Her company has had explosive growth. I am going to ask you to brag and to tell us about your growth. We get very excited. We don't take it as bragging. We take it as keeping track, right, you guys? Yeah. And it's inspiring. So we want to know. But what I love most about her, is she has the ability to melt a room with her presence. Not just her beauty, which that will do it by itself, but her presence, her humility, her grace. There is not 1 ounce of ego or lady she-go when she shows up. It is all complete honoring, homage, and gratitude. So I made a bold request. I said, can you come pour into my global leaders? I don't invite a lot of people here. You guys know I'm very protective of this environment. But I said, they need to know what you know. They need to know what you're doing. They need to learn from you. And she got on the plane early from Jamaica so she can be home. We flew back together. And she has a big training that's coming up this weekend. So she would normally be prepping, but I asked her, please interrupt all that. Come and pour into my global leaders. Please give a roaring, pick up your clappers, round of applause for Regan Hillyer.
Amazing. Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. That was so beautiful, and I'm going to practice my bragging. It's such an honor to be here, and when Lisa asked me to come and serve in this space, it was just a hands down yes. Immediately, it was like, okay, cool, whatever's going on, whatever other event I have, I'll change it, I'll figure it out, I'll be here. Why? Because my mission, ultimately, is to help raise the vibration of this planet. And I figured out a long time ago, I can help lots and lots and lots of people do that, but where it really counts is getting to the few individuals that are really committed to making a change. And I sat in the same room, I think it was around February. Who was here last time? Was it February?
Yeah, it was February.
It was February. Feels like a month and 10 years all at once, right? And I sat there and I just was so astounded by what Lisa had created and the team at Motivating the Masses and the leaders and the gladiators they'd pulled into this room. And I thought, you know what, out of all the rooms that I could serve in, I want to be here. So it's totally an honor and a privilege. And I also want to honor all of you guys for being here, because you guys are the ones in the trenches doing the work and really making this change happen. So I know some of you guys know me and you may follow me online, and for some of you I'm a fresh shaven face. And if you do follow me online, you might see that I live literally all over the world. And I travel, sometimes it's back to back and sometimes it's a few weeks in one place. And I get to serve and I get to help and I get to literally impact millions of people and make millions of dollars in the process. And beyond all of that, I get to help so many other people do the same thing. And it's interesting. I was thinking about how can I really show up and serve in this space. You know, I have about an hour with you guys, and I got an email from the team, and they were like, you know, what are you going to talk about? And I vaguely said something like, oh, how to grow an online business and make lots of money and help lots of people, something along those lines. And I left it open because I wanted to feel the space. And I was sitting at the back of the room, feeling the energy, and also knowing the content, the amazing strategic content, which gets laid down here for you guys as a foundation. And I thought, well, you know what? I could teach them how to launch a product. I could teach them how to grow their following. I could teach them all this strategy stuff online. Or I could give them the juice behind all of that, which really counts. And I could give them the stuff that totally separates someone that strategically knows what to do to the next person who also knows that. And that person then soars and flies and elevates, and people turn around and say, how did you do that? And so that's what I want to dig in with you guys today. Does that sound good?
Yes.
I feel like I'm in the right room. Amazing. So I grew up in Auckland, New Zealand, and I grew up in a family that was a beautiful, loving family, and they very much believed in education. And they told me, you know what, Regan, you need to work hard, you need to go to school, you need to get good grades, you need to go to college or university. I'm seeing the nods in the audience, who else, right? Put into the system. And as I was growing up, my dad always said to me, my dad dropped out of school when he was 14, 15, and he said, Regan, if I had your opportunities, I would have been an architect. And then I got a little bit older and my dad said, Regan, what are you going to do with your life? And I said, oh, Dad, I just don't know. Who else was one of those kids that just didn't know? I never knew, right? And my dad said to me, Regan, if I had your opportunity, I would have been an architect. And so I finished school and I sat down, and my parents were like, well, you need to go to university or college. And my dad's voice said, Regan, if I had your opportunities, I would have been an architect, right? And so that's what I set out to do. And it's interesting, I was good at it, I worked really hard, and I remember this specific day where I walked into this lecture theatre, and there was a new lecturer in the room, and I sat down, and I remember he was in front of the room, and he said something like, welcome, future architects, welcome to your future. I want you to sit down, close your eyes, and visualize your life 25 years out from now as the architect that you commit to being. And so I sat down, and I thought, okay, cool, visualization, I can do that. I closed my eyes and I let myself sink into it, and I started seeing my life. And I had this moment where I literally felt kind of had this moment where it's like my mind disconnected from my body, and all of a sudden I felt my body getting up and leaping and walking and tripping over something and running out of that room. Who else has had that feeling before, where you just know you're going down a path, and it's a path, and you may be good at it, and you may be able to do it, but it's not your true path. And I ran out of that room, and it was like I was in a trance. I picked up the phone, and I was shaking at the time, and I remember my dad's voice, Regan, if I had your opportunities, I would have been an architect. And I dialed that phone regardless of that. And I got my dad on the other end, and shaking, I said to him, Dad, you know what, I can't do it. It's not my truth. It's not my purpose. I don't want to be an architect. And to my surprise, my dad turned around on the other end of the phone, and he said, Regan, baby, you know, I want you to be happy at the end of the day. He said, I support your decision. It's okay. I was like, really? And he said, yeah. And he turned and he said to me, he said, so, what are you going to do? I said, just give me a minute, right? And who else hasn't had that feeling where you are so clear on what you don't want to create in your life, but have absolutely no idea what you're going to do, right? I was sitting right there. And so I went home to my flat where I was sharing the space with 5 other people living together, and I got on Dr. Google, right? This generation, Dr. Google always has the answers. And so I got to Google and I said, the room, and I signed one of the forms, and I thought I'd get a credit card and I'll figure it out who's done that, right? Except I went a little bit nuts on it. I was like, okay, cool, I have to find a way to figure out my life. So I started figuring out, how do I invest in property? How do I trade currency? How do I learn marketing? How do I start a business, an online business, all of it. And what I noticed was that I was getting further and further and further into debt, and my life wasn't changing. And you don't have to put your hands up for that, but I was scared, and I hit a point where I was over $100,000 in personal debt, credit card loans and personal loans. And I was looking around going, my life still looks the same. And I remember I went to one of my mentors, one of my early coaches, his name was Simon, that I was working with. And I sat there and I said, you know what, Simon? Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm not meant to be successful. You know, maybe I should just go and get a job and do that architect thing. And he turned around and he literally laughed at me in my face. And I was like, well, that's not kind, right? You're meant to be helping me in this process. And he turned around and he's like, Regan. Oh, bless you. He said, you've got it all backwards. I said, what do you mean? He said, look, have you heard about the 80-20 thing? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, exactly. And he said, Regan, and you guys should all write this down. He said, success is 80% the inner game, 80% your inner wiring, 80% what you do on the inside, and then only 20% the strategic action that you take on the outside. And he said, how much are you doing on the inner game right now? I was like, well, he's like, right. And that's where I continued madly to invest in myself. But I started working on me. I started digging deep into the world of NLP, hypnosis, energy work, success strategies. I started looking at how do I rewire my internal reality so that I become that version of me first, and then take the strategic action on the outside. Who's with me on this? You guys following, right? And it's interesting because all of a sudden my life started to shift. I started losing weight. I started becoming happy. I started starting a business. I started making money, and everyone was coming to me and saying, Regan, how are you doing that? And so I started teaching the people closest to me what I knew. I was like, well, do this, and do this, and do this, and don't do that, stop doing that. I started telling them everything. And then they started running back to me and saying, Regan, thank you so much. You've changed my life. I've just done this. I've just made some money. I just started my first business. And for the first time ever, I felt a sense of purpose in my life. And I felt so good about helping those people. I thought, wow, maybe this is a clue. Maybe this is it. This is my highest excitement right now. And so I started becoming a one-on-one coach. And so I was never someone that said, I want to be a coach, and did a certification and tried to build it. It was such an organic process. And what's interesting is that I built this one-on-one practice, and there was a huge team of me, myself, and I, right? And I was working 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day sometimes. I was maxed out. I basically built myself a job. Now, I loved the job, and I was happy to do it, but I thought to myself, you know what, there must be a way to create a little bit more leverage. And that's when I figured out, instead of spending 20 hours speaking to 20 people, maybe I could spend 1 hour speaking to 20 people. And so I started running really small events, 10, 12, 20 people in the room across Australia and New Zealand. And I grew that offline coaching business to roughly $1 million a year. And on the outside, everyone was saying, wow, Regan, that's so great. You know, you're in your early 20s. You must be so happy. And what's interesting is that I was. And I was extremely grateful for what I created. But I remember this day where I walked outside of this room. It was actually really similar to this hotel. I was thinking about it coming in here. And I was standing outside the event doors, and there was about 30 people in the room. And they'd each invested multi-thousands of dollars to come hear me speak. And I remember standing outside the room, and I went to go inside, and I lifted up my hand to open the door, and I got this sinking feeling in my stomach, and my body didn't want to go inside. And I thought, I know that feeling. And it was the exact same feeling that I felt when I was sitting in university. And I thought, what's going on now? And so I went into the room, and of course I fulfilled the event. But then I took myself away from it. I went to Bali for 4 weeks, and I chose not to ignore that feeling. And I chose to ignore the people that were saying, wow, you've done so well, this is so good. I wish I created something like that. And I really tuned in and thought, what is that feeling? What is that trying to tell me? And that's when I realized that, wow, okay, even though everything was amazing that I created, 1% was slightly out of alignment. And I dug into what that was, and then I realized, I don't necessarily want to speak 4, 5, 6 times a week, which is what I was doing in Australia and New Zealand. And it was set up in a way where if I left, everything stopped. And I thought, well, that doesn't really work. I want to impact more people. And then I thought, okay, cool. It's actually capped with the number of people that I can fit in these rooms. And the moment we start putting more people in, we lost the magic of what we were creating. And so with those 2 things in mind, that's what spun me online. So I chose to walk away from that business. It was with a business partner. I walked away, I shut it down. Everyone told me I was crazy. Even my business mentors were like, Regan, you should phase it out and stuff. I was like, no, I'm done. Cut. I'm kind of an all in, all out kind of person, right? And so I walked away from it, and I went online. And I knew nothing about online business. Like, I mean zero. I was like, email list what? Opt-in who? There was no language, nothing strategically, absolutely zero. And so I started what you now see today online, which is Regan Hillyer International. And this is a multi-million-dollar business. We have online and offline training, speaking, coaching, training. We work with artists, leaders, and creators, and we help them really figure out that what they have to say is important, and the truth and the stuff inside of you is real. And then how do we unleash that and get that out into the world so that you can impact millions of people and make millions of dollars in the process? Now, it was roughly a year ago. Actually, it was a year ago. Lisa and I had our anniversary a year ago. We celebrated in Jamaica. It was a year ago that I sat in an event with Lisa, and I listened to her, and I thought, that's my next person to help take me to the next level. And I just knew. Who else knew, by the way, working with Lisa and the team? Right. You just know. It's just like, you've showed up, and I've showed up, and I'm here, and I'm available. I pulled Lisa aside, and I said, look, my business is doing roughly $200 to $300 a month. No, thousands, sorry, dollars a month. I missed off the zeros. Right? 200 to 300K per month. And I said, and I really want to take it to this next level. I said, I'm coachable, I'll do what it takes. And so we showed up and we spent a day together and we went really deep. And I shared this with Lisa in Jamaica just recently. I still have that Word document of all my notes from that day, from 1 year ago, and it's still, I never shut it, it's just minimized on my computer, and every week I'm reconnecting with it and looking at it, and there's still stuff on there that's been implemented from that day. And I shared with Lisa, yeah, it's the only way. I shared with Lisa in Jamaica that roughly 3 months ago we had our first $1 million month through Regan Hillyer International, and this is my bragging practice, right? and recently, just gone this month, we've already done well over 1.25, and I think it's about the middle of something roughly. And so the cool thing is that that's simply a reflection of the lives that we're touching, and that's a reflection of the people we're impacting, and that's a reflection of the people that go out and say to other people, wow, this is so cool, this stuff really changed my life, and it flows through. So thank you, Lisa, for being such an integral part of that journey, and I'm beyond grateful. Yeah, and it's just been amazing playing with you in so many ways. So, what I wanted to dig into with you guys today is a little bit, like I said, of the juicy stuff behind the scenes to what happened in that zone. Because so many people say, Regan, what did you do? What was the secret strategy? What was the product you launched? And it was none of that. I mean, of course we did things differently in the business. Of course we strategically did things. But the things which made a difference were, for example, Lisa speaking to me on that one-on-one day and activating an internal part of myself that I couldn't yet see or embody yet. That made a difference. Because you don't get in business and life what you do, you get who you are. And the more that you refine yourself and retune yourself and align yourself to this next level of being, the more that the world corresponds and reacts around you. And then you can't help but make millions of dollars. You can't help but impact millions of people. You can't help but simply have that business which goes to the next level because it's just who you choose to be. You're picking up what I'm putting down here.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to step you through 7 steps, 7 key pieces, which I was really tuning into this morning, thinking, okay, how can I serve these guys in the best way? What do they need? And what can I give you which is practical, which is going to allow you to dig into your inner game at a deeper level so that any strategy you decide to do, online, offline, becomes easy, becomes in flow, becomes automatic, because it's simply who you're choosing to be. And so the first step, the first thing that I need you to dig into when it comes to really mastering this inner game is getting extremely clear on your vision. I have so many people say, Regan, how have you done this and how have you done that? And I really turn around and say, well, I really just decided. And it really started there. I really just chose it. And it chose me, and I chose to meet it in the middle at some point. And so I believe that all of you guys here are visionaries. You're all visionaries and you're all creators. Anyone that's not a visionary just would need to leave this room after like 30 minutes, let's be honest. They'd be like, I can't handle this. This is too much, I need to leave. And so you need to get clarity on your vision. It's not enough to say, you know what, I just want to make lots of money. I want to be financially free. Like, what does that look like? What does that really look like? If I give you $1,000, are you financially free? No, Regan. Well, then how much? What is it? And we have this amazing ability as humans, which I just believe is so important to touch on, and remembering that manifestation is your natural state. Okay, and the more you dig into this, the easier it becomes. And the easier it becomes, the more you dig into it. And it's this beautiful where it's like, oh, I can see that. That feels almost like reality. Who's had a dream where you wake up and you can't really remember if it's real or not, and you're a bit confused and right? Your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between dreams and reality. So the bigger you dream, the faster it's going to show up. Now, as kids, we all do this. Kids are the best dreamers. But then we sit in a school and we're told to pay attention and stop daydreaming. They're literally like, stop visioning, stop manifesting, stop creating an amazing life and be here. Right? You're simply remembering the core of how to do this. And so something beautiful happens when you start painting this vision and you start actually really looking at it in detail. And then it kind of feels like, oh, it's almost like it could be real. And then you start embodying it as if it was real. And you're walking around and talking as if your vision's a reality. And some people around you might say, what are you talking about? That vision's not a reality. Like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? But you're like, no. You know what? I am so connected to this vision that I can taste it, I can feel it, I can touch it. And as you start to embody it, we start to do something really cool. And all of you guys would have done this, where we start literally bending time and space. And the vision starts coming and pulling further into your current reality, into your now. And then that's the day where you wake up and you turn around and you're like, oh, look at my life. Oh, I dreamt all of this. Oh, all of this started in here. Right? And it's a continual process that you dig into. Is this making sense? Okay. So the question I love to ask myself, and please write this down so that you can go and do the inner work straight tonight. As soon as you can do this, you can dig into this. The question I love to ask is, if I was to be living in total alignment with my big picture vision, what would be going on? Okay, if I was to be living in total alignment of my big picture vision, what would be going on? And this is where you can choose your tool. You can sit down, you can journal, you can meditate, you can talk about this with an amazing other gladiator. You can do what you like. Pick your medicine, I don't mind, but get clear on it. And get clear through every area of your life. Because here's what I see people do. They get clear on their vision around their money, and And then sure enough, they bend their time and their space, and all of a sudden the money shows up, but at what expense? Right? All of a sudden their health goes down the drain. All of a sudden their relationship gets tarnished. So we want to look at this holistically. So even if your vision for your business is your priority right now, how does that then flow on and flow into every single element of your life? Does this make sense? Cool. Okay, so then, interesting enough, a lot of people do that. They're like, okay, cool, I've got the vision down, I'm clear on it, and then they turn around and they're like, why is my vision not manifesting? Well, there's another 6 things you've got to do, okay? So the next one, step number 2, is we want to start increasing your capacity to receive. Now, we are vessels for receiving, divine receiving, and you can literally receive anything that you desire to receive in your life. But in order to do that, you have to create a container that is big enough for you to catch what's coming through you. Because guess what? Ideas are just energy. Money's just energy, and it's all flowing all around you right now. But if you don't have the capacity to increase your capacity to hold it and catch it, then it's going to flow past you. Now, who's had an idea where they have a brilliant idea and they're like, that's the best idea ever? They never act on it, then they turn around and someone else has their damn idea. Right? Who's had that? Okay. I had that with some coconut water with a friend, and we were like, we're going to import this and take it to New Zealand and Australia, and we never did anything, and then sure enough, a year later, there it was. It's like, that's our idea. It's like, no. That's the idea which came to us, but we had the inability to catch it and embody it at the time because we hadn't expanded ourselves to that level. Learning, painful learning, actually, at the time. So in order to do this, we need to start looking at, okay, how do we increase our capacity to receive? Now, here's the question that I want you to dig into for this one. Remembering, you've just done your big vision, so you're like, oh my gosh, I've gone as big as I can think, my vision's here, it's awesome, it's a total clarity, I can't think any bigger than that. Okay, here's the question. If my big vision was already my reality right now, what would my big vision be? And this is where your brain starts going, right? If my big vision was already my reality right now, what would my vision be? Because if your vision is to make $500,000 a year, well, you're not going for the $500,000 in your big vision. You're going to be going for $750,000 or $1 million or whatever it is, right? So something beautiful happens when you tap into this, because all of a sudden, you see beyond your big picture vision. And this is so critical, guys, and this is why so many people never shift past this, is because if you don't do this, guess what? Your whole system, unconsciously and internally, says, you know what? I don't know what's on the other side of that vision. So if I can't see it, if I can't touch it, if I can't taste it, it might be bad. It might be scary. It might be dangerous. So you know what? I'm just going to keep you safe. I'm going to keep you over here, kind of just actually under your big picture vision, because I don't want you to get there because I can't see what's next. Who's with me? Right? And so all of a sudden, it's like, oh, the moment you start painting the reality that, hey, unconscious system, it's safe. In fact, it's good. In fact, it's really, really good. Let me go there. Then your whole system relaxes and it's like, oh yeah, you can have that. Oh yeah, that's really good. Oh, let me assist you in making that easy. Right? And so something interesting happens when we shift beyond this. Because then looking back at your big picture vision, it's like, oh, that's just a stepping stone to get over there. Oh, I can handle that. Right? You're seeing the power in doing this. And not just doing this once, right? Layering it over and over and over again. When I started out online, I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to start from zero. I'm going to walk away from this other business that was out of alignment. I'm going to go online. I don't know anything about online. Okay, what's my vision? How many people do I want to impact? How much money do you want to make? And I wrote that down. And then immediately I said, okay, then what's next? What's the layer beyond that? What's the big picture vision after that? And then that's when everything starts collapsing. And it happens so much faster. That is literally, guys, the key to how I took my online business from 0 to $1 million in 8 months. That was it. I already knew it was going to happen because I folded that and I was beyond the 1 million. I was focusing on the 1.25 and beyond.
Come on,
I'm watching the time. I was on there too. Okay, awesome. All right. I like to be respectful. Okay, are you guys good for step number 3?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the next thing we need to start looking at is your internal belief system.
So can I just say something? Can you guys, every time
looking at your internal belief system. Because you can paint your big picture vision and you can look beyond the vision, you can get that, and a lot of that is chosen unconsciously. But something beautiful happens when we start pulling this unconscious belief system to the surface and we start looking at it and start going, oh, okay, I'm not sure if that serves me. In fact, if I was to choose something different, what would I choose to believe? And so, if you guys want to maybe borrow some beliefs, I choose to believe that making millions of dollars is really easy. I choose to believe that it's so much fun. I choose to believe that the more people I help, the more money I make. And the more money I make, the more people I help. Perfect. So 4 would be a great step to come next, right? 4 would be perfect to follow. So, for step number 4, we need to start digging into what is the resistance holding us back. I had a really amazing mentor, and at this time, I'd done a lot of internal work. And I was looking at, I think it was a money and business goal at the time, and I said to her, look, it's just not manifesting. It's just not manifesting. And she said, well, what's holding you back? And she said something so profound, I'll never forget it. She said, Regan, if there's something that you desire internally, and it hasn't yet shown up externally on the outside, then there's a block or limitation within that's stopping it. Because everything you desire... I need one of those. I'm good. There's a block. Ouch. It was like, okay. And then once I got past that, it was like, here's all the blocks, right? So sometimes you have to dig a little bit. Sometimes you need to look at it. And so when I say blocks and limitations, I'm talking about limiting beliefs, believing that you're not worthy of it, believing that you can't do it, believing that it's hard. I'm talking about fears, right? The fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of what are all the other people going to think when I stand in my light and it's this freaking bright. Yeah. The fear of losing everyone along the way, right? Hello. I'm talking about self-sabotage. I'm talking about getting so close to receiving and then going, actually, maybe I'll just try this other thing. Yeah, right? And something interesting happens with these limitations. Let's take fear as an example. And if I hear one more speaker say that fear isn't real, I'm probably going to punch them in the face because it's very real. It's so real. It's so real. And it's something that I believe we don't need. You can touch it, you can taste it, and you're driving there, and you start feeling as it gets closer and closer that you're bending time and space, and it's like, oh, it's showing up, and it's getting further and further, and then all of a sudden, in the rear vision mirror, you see fear. And you don't just see fear, you feel fear. Where do you feel it? You feel it in your gut, right here, right? And then all of a sudden, the fear comes from the back seat, and it comes around, and it starts grabbing your neck, so you can't breathe. It starts covering your eyes, so you can't see the car. And it's at that moment that you have a choice. You can either get out of the car and go, you know what, fear, you win, I can't handle you. I'll stop the car right here. Or you can keep driving and you can say, okay, fear, I honor you and I know that you're here to keep me safe. But I'm trying to drive. And this vision is pretty important to me. Get in the back seat, right? And you keep moving forward. And it's learning to dance with these limits, guys. It's not learning to push them away. It's not learning to pretend they're not there, because that will stop you in itself. It's learning how to dance, how to be human with them, how to use them to propel you forward even further. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Right. Number 6. You can choose who you are each and every single day. And I feel like the world kind of gets this in a fundamental, basic way. You know, it's like you wake up, you stub your toe, you have a bad day, you drive really fast, you're not getting a speeding ticket, it all catapults forward, right? We know that. And we know that at any moment we could choose to go, oh, okay, where am I acting from right now? What version of myself am I bringing to the table? So identity, if you want to call it that, has been my obsession, literally, for the last 10 years. It's been my obsession. My obsession is literally, okay, how do I shift and alter my identity so that I tap into the highest version of myself each and every single day, so that I bring that version forward and embody that and bring that version to the table with me, knowing that if I'm vibrating at that high frequency, the world's going to correspond around me to support that version of me. Make sense?
Yes.
And I remember, gosh, it was nearly 10 years ago, I remember walking into a room, and this was one of the first conferences that I attended. And I ended up and I remember breathing, going, okay, cool, I'll just go say hi to the guy that invited me here, and then leave. Okay, that's the polite thing to do. And sure enough, he saw me, and he was like, oh yeah, and he kind of brought me in the room, and all of a sudden I was in the mix of the big circle, like 6 other speakers, right? And I literally felt like they were speaking a different language. Like I didn't even understand what they were saying. They were talking about stocks and currency and all this stuff, and I was like, just kind of smiling and, trying to fit in. And I remember at that moment thinking, okay, cool, I'm here. It's kind of rude to leave. I can't get out. I'm just going to try and make the most of it. And I thought, well, what can I do? Because I'm struggling to connect with these people. I'm really struggling. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to try and figure out how they all became successful. And so I just started asking them questions. How did you do it? What are you about? How did you make your money? What do you speak about? I just started gathering information. And at the end of the night, I walked away really confused. And I thought, well, they're all awesome. They're all helping a lot of people. They're all really making a big impact in this world. And they've all done it a completely different way. It's not like they were all doing the one thing, which got them to the one place. And I remember asking myself, okay, well, it's not what they did. So what is it about all those people that I can see and that I can feel that's the same? What is it? What ties them together? And I thought about it and I was like, They all walked into the room with their shoulders back and they all had their gaze up. And I thought, where was my body? And I thought, well, my body was down and my gaze was trying to not be seen down here somewhere, right? And having a conversation with that version, who I knew was coming, because I'd chosen it 5, 10, 20 years after now. That version of me, I chose to not wait the 5, 10, 25 years. I just chose to connect with it now and bring it into the now and embody it right now, regardless of what it looked like on the outside, regardless of what it said in my bank account, regardless of how many people I had or hadn't helped, regardless of what someone else thought about me. I wasn't interested in the details because I knew that had nothing to do with where I was going.
Yes.
Right? And so I invite you to ask yourself, if I was to truly embody the highest version of me right now, how would I be showing up? If I was to truly embody the highest version of me right now, how would I be showing up? How would you be walking? How would you be talking? What would you be thinking about every day? What would you not be thinking about? What would you be focusing on? What would you tolerate in your life? What would you no longer tolerate? What kind of people would you choose to be around? What kind of people would you choose to just quietly not be around anymore? Or loudly not be around anymore? What do you put in your body? What are you fueling yourself with? How much energy do you have? How do you next level version of you when you start choosing to be it each and every single day? Step number 6 is all about how do you raise your vibration? How do you raise your vibration? Which, in turn, when you do this, the deeper question is, how do you alter your frequency? Money has a frequency. Success has a frequency. Satisfaction and happiness has a frequency. And we can't touch or receive those frequencies unless we alter our vibration of where are we vibrating at each and every single day. We can't alter our vibration unless we embody the highest version of us. And we can't do that if we don't believe we can't do it. Can you see there is some madness to it? I mean, what do you say? Some method to the madness, right? It all links together. So you're in control of your state. You're in control of your vibration. You're in control of when you wake up. What are you connected? And it has everything to do with their internal vibration. And guess what? If you want to manifest more money, online or offline, money corresponds the same way that you correspond to that person. Money reacts in exactly the same way. Money goes, ooh, high vibration. Ooh, someone who's focused on changing the world. Ooh, someone who's doing the internal work. I'll come play. Money wants to support you in this process. But if you're like pushing money away, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm just going to be quiet and still and not too bright, money will go, okay, cool, well, I'll just hang out and wait till you're ready. Right? And this stuff, guys, is not something that you do just once a day. This is the constant work. The people that I work with, my high-level clients, we literally talk multiple times per day. And it's not something where it's like, yeah, you just sit down once and do this, and then bing, vibration sorted, tick the box, next, right? It doesn't work like that, right? It's not even something that you do once a day in the morning. There's a lot in personal development around your morning routine, and you've got to do these like 10 things in order to be successful. No. What about the going on? Again, this is a lot of the deep work that I work with people around, is looking at what can we do to activate your dormant DNA, what can we do to dig into your frequency, what can we do to alter your state, so that this just becomes your new level of normal, okay? And then step number 7. Step number 7, once you've done all of this beautiful internal work, you actually have to do something on the outside too. Okay? Don't be one of those people where it's like, but Regan said I could do 1 to 6 and just do all this internal work and it's all just going to show up. It's not. It's really not. You have to take massive action. You have to take massive action in your life and in your business. But here's the good news. I'm a massive advocate for how do you do less and receive more. I was brought up with a motto of work really hard, play really hard, then work really hard again. Like, I'm sure who here was brought up with, you've got to work really, really hard to make it happen. Okay, you can still do that. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. In fact, I know a lot of hugely successful people that work their butts off. But I don't know about you, I want to play more, I want to live more, I want to breathe more, I want to spend time with the people in my life more, and I want to create a bigger impact by doing less and receiving more. Who's with me? Okay, so there's 2 questions to ask yourself, and I don't want you to write the first one down. I'm going to use it as an example. This is what most people say. They say, okay, what do I need to do to make it happen? And then they try and answer that question, and they say, okay, I'll do this stuff in my business, and I'll do this, and they do all this like busy, busy, busy work. And again, they're going to get somewhere. In fact, they may create a huge amount of to speed up the manifestation process. Now have a look what happens energetically. How do I do it? How do I do it? How do I do it? Putting the weight of your vision on your shoulders. Activating a fear frequency of, if I don't figure out how, it might not happen. You're telling the world, I'm doubting if I can do this. I'm doubting if it's going to happen. I'm hoping it will, but I'm not really sure. Versus, oh, it's done. I already chose it. I already know it's done. I already know I'm going to help that many people. I already know I'm going to make that money. I already know I'm going to find the perfect strategy online. I already know I'm going to have the best business partner ever. I already know that. How can I show up to speed it up? Feel the difference energetically? And this is where your action comes from. This is how you figure out how to take aligned action in your life and your business instead of busy do action. Okay, the first person answering the first question is off doing like 50,000 things, being really stressed out and busy. You're doing 3 things. And you're like, well, I'll do this, I'll call this person, and I'll do that thing. And then you commit to it, and you go do it. So guys, I answer that question every single day. Every single day. As a CEO, I'm looking at, okay, cool. My business needs to be here. Here's the vision. Here's the expanded vision. Doing all the work for the other steps. Okay, what can I do to speed it up? Well, I figured that out. I launched that, and I try to solve that problem. Okay, cool. Those are the 3 things that I commit to today. And then people say, well, Regan, what if you don't get it done in the day? I say, no, I don't sleep. Your commitment doesn't waver, bless you. your commitment doesn't waver. It's the way that you're taking action, and it's the energetic place that you take the action from that is extremely different. Are you guys with me on this?
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So, guys, my intention today was to disrupt your reality a little bit. And my intention was to allow you to dig into your inner world where you realize how powerful that you really are. And my intention was to really remind you to remember that what you have to say is important. And really, if you dig into the stuff and if you do that inner work, the rest is easy. The rest can be from a place of flow. The rest can be from a place of divine manifestation. The rest really can be as a result of simply partnering with the universe or God or source or whoever it is you like to call that person, right? Whatever that is for you, it can be from that place. And you ultimately can go out and you can create any business you desire. You can do it in a way where it feels fresh and it feels yummy and it feels fun. And ultimately, you can leave this planet a better place, knowing that you've fulfilled your mission and you've ultimately helped the people that you were put here to serve. So thank you so much for having me. I don't know where we're at the time.
You're
but
perfect. You're perfect.
perfect.
You guys give her a Sure that we learn actively. Okay, we learn actively. So, 3. So we'll take those first 3 questions. Okay.
Cool. I'm happy for you guys to ask me anything, strategy, internal, all of it. Yeah.
And just so while she's answering, this is her contact details for you guys to follow her. I know you want to and you should.
Thank you. Oh, is this on? Yeah. Thank you very much. Very inspiring. I was hoping you could actually dive in just a little bit deeper. You were talking about like writing out the 50 beliefs.
Yeah.
And like that process.
Right? Now the other ones where it's like, okay, maybe it's a belief where it's like, I believe that my best friend's not going to like me anymore. Well, you might look at that and go, yep, she probably won't. Right? And so now that's like, okay, cool, we could change that belief, but that's kind of reality in some ways. So instead the question is, how am I going to handle that? How am I going
years of not getting pregnant, and then I use the same process, and I now have a beautiful son, so I know the process worked. And so one question I have for you is, when I am rating my vibration, because I wake up in the morning and then I do the whole ritual and I ask these questions and I meditate and I connect with my higher self, but where I'm being stuck in when I'm rating my
I choose to believe that 8 is my natural state. I choose to believe that whenever I drop under an 8, I'm conscious of it right away and I self-correct. Right? So see how it's like the belief system behind the belief system?
Yeah.
Right? It's another layer. It's deep. But the moment you do that, I had a client and she was like, I'm journaling all day and nothing's working. I'm like, what do you believe about journaling? She goes, I believe it's a waste of time. I said, well, there you go. So it's kind of the same thing, right? It's looking at what is the belief system, what's the reality under the reality. From there, the next thing that I would love for you to do is, you've got a mobile phone, obviously, right? I want you to set an alarm on your phone for unless it's like you're with a client or you're on stage or whatever and you can't. Every hour that you have available for that phone to go beep with a little alarm, that's going to be your vibration alarm, okay? And so every hour when that goes off, you put it on the hour, quarter past, whatever. Every hour that goes off, you need to stop and you need to spend 2 minutes tuning into that vibration, okay? And you're just going to pause, you can go to the bathroom, you do what you need to do, and you're going to take your phone, you're going to have 2 minutes, and you're just going to feel it, breathe it, connect with your vision, paint that picture, get into it, embody it again, regardless of what's going on. Even if you feel good, go to 9, 10, 12, right? And you're going to connect with it. And I promise you, if you do that, and if you do that every single day, every single week, every single month, you'll hit a point where that alarm will go off and you'll go, oh, I'm in it. And it's just your natural state. And it's at that point when everything your money, for example, set that, tune into your money goal every hour. Every hour, I still do this. You see my phone, boom, 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 or my client's phone, boom, 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 right? And it's the same thing. It's the muscle you got to work it. Yeah.
How many of you guys needed to hear that? One hand up, 2 hands up, high. Keep the look around. The hands that are up, look around, the hands that are up. And 2 feet up. Give her some love. Give her some love. You may have some love. Number 3. Number 3, Jennifer. Right here. Right here.
So it is really awesome to be able to meet a future version of myself.
Welcome.
Mini clappers.
So I know that
Hold the mic closer.
you were this future version of myself. If there was something on your journey that you wanted to tell your past version of yourself that would accelerate you to be where you are right now, what might that be?
Is that just in general, or do you have something more specific that would help you?
Yeah, in general. Something that you learned along that was so critical to your movement forward.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure there's a lot, but the biggest thing which, yeah, as Ellen was, the biggest thing which comes to mind, and I believe it's coming up for a reason potentially for you, I don't know, but I trust this stuff, is choosing to believe in myself earlier on, and really realizing that although I could borrow belief from other people, I had to make those decisions myself. And I kind of spread it out and took a while to do that, and then when it kind of got there, it was like, oh, I could have just chosen that from the beginning. And so I just invite you to look at this future version of yourself and just choose to believe that it no longer has to be future, because anything you see in me or any other version of yourself is in you, because if it wasn't, you couldn't see it. You couldn't recognize it. Or just seeing it.
You want to hug her, go hug her. Yeah. I can see when there's a hug.
Love you.
Take a deep breath in. Right place, right time. Right conversation, right experience. So 1, is to live in total alignment with the big vision. 2, increase your capacity to receive. 3, what is it?
Start looking at the internal belief system.
Begin to look at your internal belief system. 4,